welcome to another season reading. This time, a reading for Scorpio season that starts around the 22nd of October. Officially, the sun moves to Scorpio on the 23rd. But yeah, we will consider the 22nd of October to the 21st of November. As the sun moves into this zodiac sign, we step into one of the most potent and mysterious seasons of the year. Scorpio energy invites us to go beneath the surface, to face what is hidden, and to embrace transformation with courage. This is a time of intensity, of passion and rebirth, a season where endings pave the way for beginnings and truth is revealed in the shadows. Scorpio is the sign of transformation, death and rebirth. It's the sign of intimacy, of deep emotional truth. Where Libra taught us about harmony and balance, Scorpio asks us to look deeper, to dive deeper. And during this season, nothing superficial holds up for long. So we are drawn towards honesty, healing, and radical authenticity. Scorpio is guided by two rulers, one of them being Pluto, but before Pluto was discovered around 1930s, Mars was considered the ruler of Scorpio. After the discovery of Pluto, this planet was associated with Scorpio sign, and this gave Scorpio's energy a deeper dimension. Mars is the ancient ruler and fuels Scorpio with the drive, the courage, and the determination. But unlike the outward fire of Aries, that is also ruled by Mars, Scorpio's Mars is more quiet, let's say, more strategic, more focused. And it gives the sign the persistence and the strong willpower. Pluto brings depth, brings mystery, and the power of transformation to Scorpio. So Pluto rules the cycles of death and rebirth. And this influence makes Scorpio the alchemist of the zodiac, right? The one that is able to turn pain into wisdom and endings into new beginnings. And together, this influence of Mars and Pluto infuse Scorpio season with a lot of passion, a lot of resilience, and a lot of potential for profound growth and rebirth. Scorpio season, it will ask us to confront our inner shadows and release the old stories that are keeping us stuck in the past. It encourages us to be courageous in intimacy, whether that's with others or with ourselves. And above all, Scorpio season reminds us that life is cyclical, that endings are simply the opening of new beginnings. And this is the season to dive deep, to trust our intuition, to let go of what has expired, and to rise from the ashes renewed. So these are the themes of Scorpio. Let's look into the key astrological aspects for this season. I go more in depth on the astro guide that I provide each season. So if you want to check that out, the link is in the description box. The astro guide is a PDF, 25 pages more or less usually, file where I go into depth on the astrology and energy for each day of the season. So if you want to get yours, it's there on our Patreon page. Okay, so let's look at the key astrological aspects of the Scorpio season real quick. Neptune going direct on the 22nd of October, and it's gonna end its retrograde in Aries and begins to return after months being introspective. So probably you'll start to feel a lot of fog lifting up, a lot of clarity. This shift in the energy will highlight the balance between our spiritual aspect and the need for grounded action. So it's gonna be all around the themes of like where have we been escaping reality, and how can we put our imagination to help us throughout our day-to-day life, our practical aspects of life. So then on the 23rd, we have Sun officially entering Scorpio, of course. And in this moment, of course, the energy gets a bit more heavy, more quiet, um, more electric beneath the surface. So it starts this season of emotional truth, right? A season of depth, of healing, of soul transformation. So Scorpio teaches us um, that power lies in being honest, right? Not lying to yourself. It is the courage to face the truth, right? It's the courage to face what we've been trying to hide, or what other people and situations have been trying to hide, the shadows, the desires, the fears, and reclaim all of those parts as part of the whole. And on this day, also, there's a conjunction between Mercury and Lilith, which is very interesting. And it's like the season entrance, where like Lilith symbolizes the shadow self, our hidden desires, right? Like the untamed parts of the individual and society. And Mercury, of course, rules communication and intellect. So words really carry raw truth around this time. Probably some secrets may surface around this time. Probably you can have some difficult conversations, the ones that cut to the bone, right? Around this time. But remember that this honesty is actually what helps us, and that what will help us throughout this season to liberate ourselves. Great. So let's look at November 5th. We have a full moon in Taurus, and I find this beginning and of October, beginning of November, very intense in terms of cosmological energy. This full moon in Taurus really illuminates everything we've been cultivating until now in the depths of ourselves. It is literally the meeting point between our desires and our need for stability, between what we feel and what we want and what we're actually able to sustain. So this lunation will be aligned with Mars and Uranus and can bring unexpected awakenings, emotional outbursts, some breakthroughs, shifts in our sense of security, emotionally, financially, can be very different for each person, right? So, but it's really um, asking us here with intensity of like, what do you want to keep working at, creating, building, and what must be released for you to feel free, to feel safe. Yes. So it's very interesting full moon. Of course, I go more in depth on the Astro Guide. So check the Astro Guide out. Get one. Okay. So we have the 8th of November. Again, another powerful astrological aspect. I am really, uh, well, interested in observing what happens around this time. um, when Uranus leaves Gemini, and it's gonna also enter in Taurus. So Uranus has been in Gemini since July 2025 this year, right? And in this day, on the November 8th, it will go through Taurus for one last pass. And this signals a return of awakening energies around our values, our stability, our material life, our finances, and the systems by which we ground ourselves. Okay, so because Uranus is the planet of rebellion, sudden change, individuality, and freedom, and also governs technology, invention, the internet. It basically represents all things that are innovative. It's very focused on the future, right? It's very unconventional energy. I feel here on this day there can be definitely energetically speaking. So I'm very curious on how it's going to express on the external, because I feel this very disruptive, very sudden energy that will press into our material world, into this all these themes about what do we value, and what security means to us, right? So I feel this is like a cosmic nudge that wants to awaken our relationship to what we hold dear, with our roots, and how we ground ourselves in existence. Okay. Immediately after, so that's why I'm telling you, like, look into these dates, because I feel they are going to be very important, individually and collectively. We have Mercury entering retrograde on the 9th of November. So Mercury ruling communication, it will deepen, because turns our minds inward, right, when it's retrograde. So it's all about what we mean instead of what we're saying. Old conversations and themes can resurface to be reflected upon. Secrets, memories, emotional truths can emerge for deeper review, because we're in Scorpio season, so everything goes deeper and deeper. It is a powerful time for shadow work. To listen, right, to our shadow, and to try to integrate it, right? Because this retrograde challenge us to transform fear uh, into wisdom, to sit with discomfort until we are able to hear the message of that experience, right? Great. So then on the 18th of November, we have the Sun conjunct Lilith and Venus trining the North Node. And I feel this day is very, very strong feminine energy, connected with a lot of karmic energy. Okay, so we've talked about this, right? Lilith is the shadow self, right? The hidden pleasures, the hidden desires. The sun illuminating this sign really exposes things that have been silent. Okay, so it's a day for raw truth, a day where we can feel this surge of independence, of sensuality, of emotional sovereignty. And it has this beautiful trine of Venus with the North Node. So, in my perspective, opens this karmic doorway in themes of love, of creativity, and destiny. So, we are able throughout this energy, if we want to use it, of course, to align or realign our relationships and our values with our uh, soul's path, okay, our true path. So during these days, we may feel this urge to just break free from dynamics that have been suppressing our authenticity. So I feel it's a very powerful day. And then we have on the 19th of November a very potent Mercury day. Um, I feel it's very important also this date because it's very alchemical energy. Again, on this theme, on this idea of truth, being able to um, be the way of releasing or ending things that are no longer sustainable, things that are outdated in our lives in order to break free, to really reach more clarity, to reach more truth, to reach more depth. So as Mercury is entering Scorpio on this day and is opposing Uranus, um, I feel can also bring sudden revelations. But because of the trining with Neptune, I feel it has a lot to do with intuition. I don't know. You may receive insights through dreams, through conversations, or synchronicities that change how you see everything. So it's a day um, that I feel is very good for radical honesty. It can get you to places, okay? But always having a lot of compassion, right? And to finalize this beautiful season, we have on the 20th of November a new moon in Scorpio. So it will be, the moon will be conjunct to Neptune retrograde, calling for reflection before we act. And it will trine Jupiter, Saturn, and Neptune, which is like this beautiful trine web of healing, wisdom, and of course, like divine timing. Okay, so um, it will be opposed to Uranus, which can shake the ground beneath um, the things that are just stagnated in our lives or are not that truthful, that are false, that are superficial. Um, and it's sextiling also Pluto, which it's the Scorpio's ruler, right? So it's really like this sealing, this intense transformation, this empowerment of the death of the old, the outdated into new, renewed, more free things, situations, relationships, whatever. So it's a very beautiful new moon to plant seeds, and not from desire, but from this beautiful alignment with our soul. So Scorpio season is gonna really be a resurrection, a descent into the depths and a resurrection. It will unravel and stripe away all the illusions so truth can finally take root in our lives. And we will be asked to turn inward to listen to what the soul has to say. And if we choose to face our shadows with courage, in the end of this season, we will rise lighter. Scorpio season, it will teach us that transformation is not destruction, it's actually a devotion to life. Okie dokie, let's do this beautiful temperance reading. Let's go into the 9 axes of temperance. and see what are the important messages that are here from Source for us during this amazing season. So we start with the infinity axis, axis 0, and we have here um, it's beautiful because Scorpio season literally invites us to journey into depth, right? To explore what lies beneath the surface, to face our shadows, to surrender to transformation. And it's the season of death and rebirth, right? And the infinity axis mirrors this cycle perfectly because the path between being nothing and being everything, between surrender and creation, between the human and the divine, it's literally this idea of the temperance path, right? And it starts on this point, infinity. Um, right? Because like temperance teaches us that transformation does not have to be chaotic or explosive. It can be slow, it can be gentle and deeply intentional. So, throughout this season, we will be learning the power of pause and observation. Our strength always lies not in reaction, but in awareness. And we must embody mastery through stillness because true power comes from presence, right? And we see that it's so easy in the world to be distracted. It's not by chance, it's by design. If we are distracted, we are more prone to be controlled. If we are present, we are aware, it's harder to manipulate us, right? So, to walk this axis, infinity axis, means becoming both the student and the teacher, the one who knows and the one that admits they do not know, right? The humble student listens, observes, and learns, and the wise teacher knows that learning never ends. So, in this tension between humility and mastery, that's where the real alchemy occurs. And this season will test this balance. It will urge us to dive deep, but not to drown, to hold space for change without trying to control it. And here lies this energy and this message that what will really bring great rewards, it's actually small changes. So Scorpio instinct is for total transformation, but the message here is that subtle shifts, tiny little choices, changes made with awareness and patience can actually ripple outward and reshape everything. And it's good because we always think change is something so grandiose, right? Like, so if you have to change your life. But no, take notice of the little things, your breath before you speak, to feel the stillness before you take to make a decision. The moment between reacting to something and responding to something, right? The advice here is to speak one word less and listen one layer deeper. Honor your timing. Allow small refinements to become sacred rituals because big changes are coming also, anyways. But we do not need to chase them. They are already in motion. We know we are in a new age. Things are changing, are unfolding through the quiet recalibrations we are experiencing individually. So we are advised throughout the season to prepare for that transformation, not to rush that transformation, but being awake and balanced when those changes arrive, to be patient and be ready, right? Trust your small but intentional changes in life. The great transformation ahead is an embodied awakening. Beautiful. Let's move into Axis 1, survival. And here we have, when we talk about survival, we speak about the primal instinct that anchors us to life itself. Um, what reminds us that we are here, we are alive, and that life moves through us. And the energy surrounding this axis throughout this season is for us to build confidence, for us to develop a true sense of self. This season marks a pivotal turning point in personal growth. And we're in this threshold where the old and the new stand face to face, and we need to decide which path to walk. So on one side, we have the familiar, right? The comfort of what we know, the patterns that have been protecting us, the identities that make us safe. And on the other side, we have the unknown, the call towards evolution, the challenges that stretch our limits, the discomfort that bring our expansion. And we can no longer remain in between those two. The moment of choice has arrived, and it is inevitable because the force of our soul's purpose is too strong to ignore. And this moment of choice may bring some pressure from family, from friends, or even from the society around us, right? Those voices that echo our old stories that want us to continue the same, right? But we will experience throughout this season this quiet, undeniable voice that begins to rise within us, that tells us that staying small won't work anymore, that the life that we have outgrown is not our destiny, and that to walk forward, we must move through the discomfort, trusting in that unease, because it's not a punishment, it's an initiation. And the dilemma that appears now will likely resurface throughout life because this is not just one decision, it's a recurring pattern of growth. And each time that you are asked to choose between comfort and expansion, you refine your courage. You learn to anchor confidence not in the external approval, but in the truth of your own being. So, as we cross this axis in this Scorpio season, notice any tendency to blame others for your limitations or your pain, because blame is actually a reflex of survival. It's a defense mechanism that protects um, our fragile parts of the self, right? We can only start to heal when we take responsibility. The more we claim our power, the more our energy stabilizes and the stronger our vibration becomes. And this natural higher frequency ripples outward and affects those around us. When one person raises their vibration, everyone connected to them feels the shift. The vibrational charge of your healing alters the energetic field of your family, of your partnerships, of your community. And you may notice changes in dynamics. So, to work consciously with this energy, we must allow ourselves to become a vessel for healing. So, we must release the resistance. We need to send compassion to the aspects of ourselves that still want to hold on to safety. We have to let discomfort be our teacher, not our enemy. And in doing so, we strengthen our roots, our foundations, and we awaken our inner confidence that cannot be shaken by any circumstance. We are being invited to rise beyond what is merely comfortable and to step into what is true. And this journey may challenge us, but it also liberates us. And as we heal, we will become a quiet source of transformation for others. Proof that growth, though uncomfortable, is the most natural expression of life. Okay, relationships. We have the same energy here. A crossroads, the energy of the crossroads, the space between the self and the other, where our choices shape not only our connections, but also our alignment with our purpose. And here we have a moment where the heart and the soul must choose a direction, right? Um, and relationships, dreams, and destiny will intersect. In Scorpio season, great decisions must be made. We are being asked to claim our life's deepest purpose, to anchor our energy not in distraction or approval, but in truth. This is not a time for drifting or waiting for clarity to arrive from the outside. The call of your soul's purpose, the reason why you're here, is rising, and it will not be silenced. For too long, the past may have pulled your attention away from what matters the most. Old relationships, regrets, and what ifs have a way of looping the mind and clouding the path forward. But here we are reminded that satisfaction will always be fleeting until you choose alignment with what your spirit truly came here to do. The deeper purpose must now take priority over comfort, fear, or the need to please. You may feel hesitation or fall into overthinking, over intellectualizing, trying to analyze what the heart already knows, right? But we are being asked to listen, to trust what feels alive rather than what feels safe or seems safe. Every relationship, every connection that arises now is an invitation to deepen that trust. And this axis also brings the energy of forgiveness. Throughout this season, the inner critic may arise, replaying memories of betrayal, of self doubt. But it's time to forgive yourself for not knowing then what you know now. Forgive yourself for the times you believe too much or too little, for not seeing clearly. Forgive yourself for getting hurt. So move beyond self blame and towards self understanding. The lesson is not that you should have known better, it's that every relationship has served your evolution. Each person that crossed your path has held up a mirror, reflecting the parts of you that still longed for healing, for acknowledgement. And through this reflection, you are learning how to love yourself without conditions. So, as you stand at this crossroads, the question is not simply which way should I go, right? It's more about which path aligns with my purpose and peace. And you may need to release something, a relationship, a belief. You may need to release the things that once defined you. You may need to call your energy back from the past so you can be fully present for what's coming. So, when you choose your soul's purpose, when you choose to follow the deeper current of your intuition, your relationships begin to shift in resonance. The ones that are aligned with your purpose will strengthen, and the ones that are not will naturally dissolve. So, this is not loss. This is actually the universe refining your experience. It is the clearing of pathways so that love can flow in the purest form, freely, consciously, without fear. Scorpio season will teach us that relationships with others, with self, with life, they're not a distraction from purpose, but one of its greatest vehicles. And by forgiving, trusting, and choosing to love again, even after the pain we felt, we realign with our highest frequency. So stand gently here. Take a breath. The answers are already within you. They're just waiting for you to be still and follow the path that feels like peace, even if that path asks you to be courageous. Because this is a moment of reclamation. The energy is conducive to this, where love and purpose can meet, and we can start to remember, why are we here? Why did we came here? And we arrived at axis 3, the self. But not the constructed self shaped by fear or desire, but the radiant, unguarded essence that just is. And here we are invited to rediscover playfulness and contentment, to remember that life was never meant to be endured, but experienced. And when we let the weight of expectation fall away, our soul begins to enjoy and laugh again. And we can actually be delighted with the smallest things, like the warmth of the sun, the fresh air, um, a smile on somebody's face, right? The simplicity of being, the freedom of knowing that nothing is missing. We have here this vibration that needs nothing. because we understand we don't need nothing, because we understand that everything essential is already within us. That love is not a resource to be acquired, it's just the atmosphere of existence itself. But even in this space, of course, old tendencies can resurface. And our mind sighs and grows gloomy and makes silly excuses for why joy is out of reach, right? I'll be happy when I get that job. I can relax once I have my own house. Things like this, right? But this is the ego afraid to release control. The question here is like, what would it take to bring yourself to bliss right now? And again, this does not ask for grand transformation. This asks for a softening. It asks us to loosen our grip, to stop being so serious, to let our heart lead without the need to justify or explain. This energy invites us to dance, to laugh, to say yes to life without proof that will always be easy. Because it won't. Sorry. Joy is not a denial of pain, it is an act of reverence, a declaration that life is always sacred, even in its challenges or imperfections. And to embody this knowing is to become luminous from within, to radiate ease so deeply that others feel safe to smile again in your presence. This is literally the energy of self liberation. The self here is not confined by identity, expectation, comparison, none of that. The self here is spacious, is alive, and in love with the simple fact of being. It trusts the flow of existence and knows that peace comes from remembering this. When we allow ourselves to feel good for no reason, we align with the purest vibration of life itself. So, throughout this season, breathe deeply. Just let yourself smile for no reason. Cultivate gratitude. Because the question here is no longer, how do I find bliss? Is really, how do I allow it? Because the moment we stop resisting happiness, it finds you. That's how it works. And in that moment, the self dissolves into simple, sacred joy. And we arrive at Axis 4. Axis 4 is about consciousness. We have here the energy of effortless creativity, elegant power, and the energy of the sensitive mystic who creates not from the mind, but from the soul. Right? This is the realm where inspiration arises without effort, where intuition shapes thought before it takes form, where Being and creating become one continuous movement. The energy here is potent and healing. It's not to be taken lightly or taken as ordinary. It asks for reverence out of awareness that the creative force flowing through you is the same current that animates all life. And to engage with it consciously is sacred work. You are not merely producing, you are participating in the eternal act of becoming. And our soul is asking for our attention. It's asking for silence, for solitude, for the courage to turn inward and listen. And that's why on the external, we are being bombarded with distraction, distraction, distraction. Look here, look there, look here, look there, right? But there is an inner voice that wants to be heard, that carries wisdom that cannot be found through the external, through analysis or conversation, because this voice speaks in symbols, in sensations, in visions. And to hear it, we must quiet the noise. Because in this season, there's an inner vision that wants to be revealed. Perhaps it comes in a dream, in an idea, in this pull towards something that you can't quite name or explain, right? This infinite creative power of soul is stirring. It wants to express itself through you. So it asks for space, for you to slow down enough to feel the depths, the undercurrents moving beneath your surface thoughts. And as Scorpio season, it intensifies everything, right? It draws us inward into reflection, into rebirth. And when consciousness deepens, so does our sensitivity. So you may feel easily agitated or impatient throughout this season. You may find yourself lacking clarity, lacking focus. And these are actually signs of energetic overflow. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not failing. It's just the current throughout this season is strong. So it needs a lot of grounding. And when you feel this agitation, when you feel this impatience, this anxiety, pause, listen, because there's something sacred trying to emerge. And again, this is teaching us that true creativity flows most freely when we are not striving to create, right? But allowing creation to move through us. And to reach that state, we must honor our sensitivity as a gift, right? It's not a weakness. So take time alone. Let silence expand until you can feel your soul speaking to you. Reflect on what feels alive, right? Let that guide your expression. Whatever you bring forth now carries healing vibration, not only for yourself, but for others who resonate with your frequency. Because the awareness of this, that consciousness is art in itself. And through the Scorpio lens, it becomes a process of purification and revelation. So the more you surrender to your inner voice, the clearer your outer vision becomes. Okay? This is sacred creation calling, right? This is a mix between mysticism and manifestation. And to dwell here is to remember that you are not separate from the source that creates. You are actually a vessel, you are the bridge, the living expression of infinite intelligence flowing through you. And a lot of the solutions, a lot of the openings in our life throughout Scorpio season will only be available if we stop and listen. So honor the need for stillness, for solitude, for reflection. Let that agitation, that anxiety soften into awareness. What is it trying to tell you, right? Go into a quiet space. You will find answers there. You will find solutions. You will find escape routes. Yes, powerful. And we arrive at purpose. We already talked a bit about purpose in terms of dynamics and relationships. But here, when we are not balanced, when these things are untempered, purpose can surface as aggression, as rigid thinking, as blind adherence to orders. The same force that can align us with our destiny can also bind us to patterns that feel imbalanced, drawing us towards people and situations that actually reinforce old habits, egoic reactivity, or drama. Okay. So here we encounter a lot of tension. We may feel tempted to argue, to blame, to gossip, unconsciously projecting internal friction into the outside world. All right. And these moments reveal where our purpose has been entangled with our ego, where our discipline has slipped into rigidity, right? And where the drive to act has overridden awareness. So the challenge here is to break free from drama, to discern what battles serve our growth and which ones only drain our energy. And discipline emerges here as an antidote for chaos. Because purpose demands clarity, focus, and conscious alignment. So, again, the same message. Alone time is essential, a sacred container in which to reflect, to recalibrate, and reconnect with the deeper intention behind your actions. Right? It is the space where aggression can soften into assertiveness and rigid thinking can open into discernment. And we are warned here about attraction. So, the people, the situations we gravitate toward are mirrors of our inner state. If imbalance persists, the world will provide reflections of it so we can balance, right? So, by observing these dynamics, we learn what fuels us and what depletes us, what strengthens our purpose and what distracts us from it. So, the invitation here is to transform reactive energy into conscious action. Purpose is not simply about doing, it is about aligning our actions with integrity, with presence. Because by holding our center, maintaining discipline, and embracing solitude, we cultivate a force that is potent, grounded, fierce, and wise. Purpose is about mastering the energy that drives us. It's about refining our focus and choosing relationships, actions, and commitments that support our growth rather than feed the imbalance within us, right? In doing so, the fire of purpose becomes a tool of transformation that illuminates our path. Beautiful. Now we go along. Axis 6 talks about intuition, the subtle, the inner guidance that connects us to higher wisdom. Right? During this season, we have this energy of reconnecting with our inner knowing, this voice that whispers truth beyond logic, beyond fear, beyond the familiar patterns, right? So, here the question that arises is, can we really trust our intuition? What is it really? What is intuition? So we are invited to explore this subtle realm with curiosity and courage. Um, to try to understand the deeper dynamics and dimensions of existence. Um, because our curiosity is a compass. It sparks questioning, exploring, and contemplating the inexplicable, nudging us towards truths that lie beyond the surface of daily life. So, here, this axis talks about inquiry, of inner investigation, of exploration, right? Our soul wants to talk, our soul wants to pierce the veils, to sense patterns, to recognize the energetic threads that weave together the seen and the unseen. And here we are reminded that intuition is not only simply a tool for decision making, but it's a bridge to higher consciousness. It is a language of symbols, of sensations, of subtle knowing that grows clearer when we slow down, when we listen, when we trust and act upon it. And this season, as any, will bring moments of hesitation, of doubt, of questioning, right? But this is natural. And the gift lies in following curiosity despite uncertainty and beginning the quest for answers, even when the path is not fully visible. So, throughout this season, we awaken to the truth that life contains deeper dimensions, layers of meaning and intelligence beyond the ordinary. This season intensifies this awareness. It wants us to honor the hidden, to pay attention to the subtle signs, and to cultivate a relationship with the wisdom that emerges from within. It's the call to trust ourselves, not only our minds, but our senses, our heart, our subtle perception. It is the invitation again to enter into the role of the seeker, the explorer, the mystic, right? Every question we ask, every contemplation is a step along the path towards a richer, more multidimensional experience of life. The more you believe it, the more you will experience it. That's how it works in this reality. So, intuition is the compass of our journey. It points always towards inner clarity, divine connection. It's the unfolding of higher awareness. And this season offers the perfect field for this work. So trust it, explore it with curiosity. We arrived at axis 7. that talks about service, right? The sacred impulse to reach beyond the self, to connect, to give, to contribute. And during this season, this axis vibrates both with yearning and challenge. There's definitely a strong desire to help, to engage, to be present, but without proper boundaries or direction, this well-intentioned energy can become very messy. Relationships can intertwine too deeply, boundaries can be blurred, and sharing without restraint can leave both parties, you and others, drained or uneasy. So, this axis is bringing awareness to the patterns that are very old, like habits of neediness, clinginess, lacking courage. It shows how reaching out before we are centered or grounded can actually entangle us in other people's drama, leaving our own path unclear. So, this season will ask us to pause, to reflect, to recalibrate, because this is the first step of establishing healthy boundaries, firm yet compassionate boundaries, so that our energy is preserved, our purpose is clarified, and our service becomes aligned with intention rather than reaction. So, patience is key. The timing of life is sacred, and attempting to force change before the proper moment only blocks the flow. So, we will learn surrender to divine timing this season. We will learn to allow life unfold before us, trusting that when the lessons are learned, the people will appear and the information will be available, and you will have everything you need to move forward. And in the meantime, just turn inward, meditate, reflect, prepare yourself. Again, the same message. Ask, what do I need to learn before the change I desire takes place? Right? Because sometimes we want that change, but we're not prepared for it. So that's exactly the message here. And we need to have more clarity on our connections. So notice who energizes you and who drains you. Notice where your engagement is intelligent and mutual, and where patterns of dependence or over involvement appear. Because this Scorpio season encourages discernment. Service is not self sacrifice without awareness, okay? Not it is giving at the expense of your own growth. True service comes from flow, from strength, from presence. It's about being aligned, being conscious. It is reaching out with awareness, offering our energy where it matters the most, and stepping back when the lesson is for observation rather than intervention. Because if you respect your own space and time, you open the possibility for contributions that are potent, meaningful, transformative, both for yourself and for those around you. So, this axis calls us to prepare, to learn, to ground ourselves. The desire to serve and connect is strong, but the energy of Scorpio's season asks us to temper it with patience, with courage, and boundaries. And in doing so, we align with the natural unfolding of life, and we ensure that our service is not just effort, but it will have an actual impact. And finally, we arrive at Axis 8, the Divinity, the expansive, wise, and fearless presence that oversees not just the self, but the collective. And here we have the energy of guardianship, mentorship, activism, ritual, and teaching. It is a space, an energy that embodies the mature, sovereign aspect of the soul. It is reliable, courageous, committed to truth, but it's also tempered by tolerance, inclusion, and the understanding that everything is worthy of attention. And during this season, we are called for balance between power and discernment. So the energy asks us to confront where we may impose control or hide from responsibility. It asks us to let go of attachment that cloud our clarity and to step fully into the role of impartial witness. Once again, very important right now. Can you become the impartial witness? It doesn't justify the evil that is happening in the world, but can you be as the observer, as a witness? Because this axis is inviting us to cultivate the detachment from lower vibrations. It is not becoming cold, but it's to gain clarity. Because by lifting ourselves above the muck, we attain a viewpoint that allows us to see truth clearly, even when that truth is uncomfortable or triggers us. Hiding from truth only intensifies the lesson later, right? Where conscious engagement with reality actually accelerates understanding and transformation. So, this axis about embracing all, excluding none, while simultaneously discerning what serves the higher purpose. It is the practice of tolerance, of mentorship, of ritualized action, offering guidance, protection, and teaching to those around you without losing connection to your own integrity. How can you hold space for others while remaining anchored in truth? How can you act with courage and wisdom even when emotions surge? Scorpio season will intensify these lessons, and we may feel the pull between responsibility and ease, between action and observation, between mercy and justice. We are reminded that true divinity is both active and reflective. It teaches, protects, but intervenes when necessary, always from a place of higher perspective. So, in practical terms, this is a call to step into your power with conscious authority. Face truth fully, even when it's uncomfortable. And in doing so, you honor both yourself and those who rely on your presence, embodying the mature, fearless, and wise aspect of the soul. This is the conscious embodiment of divinity. It is the point from which we rise above emotional turbulence, we see the bigger picture, and we act with integrity, courage, and wisdom, embracing life in its fullest, most sacred expression. I'm still learning how to deal with the presentation behind me. Bear with me, my friends. All right. Let's look at our conclusion. Scorpio season reminds us that transformation is definitely not a destination, it is a process. It is a continuous flowing evolution of consciousness. And we are asked to align our actions with our inner truth, to cultivate discernment in our relationships and the way we serve, and to allow our creative and intuitive powers to guide us. In this season, we will be both student and sage, seeker and guardian, participant and witness. And by embracing the lessons of the 9 axes of temperance, we step fully into depth, power, and sacred potential of our lives, prepared for the changes, the opportunities, and the revelations that Scorpio season brings. Let's read the final blessing for this season. Move my about that. I hope this reading was helpful to you. You can always come back and watch it again. I certainly do. It always reminds me of the essential. And if you want to become a part of Temperance Temple and walk with us in more depth, this beautiful path of moderation, peace, and balance, you can always check on our Patreon. The links are in the description. And the blessing is the following: a blessing from the light. You are dearly loved, more than you can possibly imagine, and you are never alone. A universe of love and light surrounds you and showers you with blessings that ebb and flow in your heart. And that's it for this beautiful season. I hope you navigate the energies well, and I see you on the next one. And that's it. Bye bye.